The palace corridors echoed with the steady rhythm of Sheikh Hamdan's footsteps, each one carrying the weight of a decision that would change his life forever. He had just left his father's private chamber, where the room was heavy with the scent of oud and the silence was broken only by the words that now burned in his mind. "Son, I am ordering you to bring her home." There was no anger in his father's voice, only the gravity of a royal command and the unmistakable trace of a smile that hinted at approval. Hamdan's heart raced, not with fear, but with an indescribable anticipation. His father's words were not just a command, they were a blessing. He knew exactly who her was, the woman who had captured his soul from the moment they first met. The idea of bringing her into the royal home was not merely about tradition or duty. It was about fulfilling the deepest yearning in his heart. It was about finally merging two worlds, his, bound by royal responsibility, and hers, filled with grace and warmth. As he stepped onto the palace balcony, the Dubai skyline shimmered under the fading sun. Hamdan gripped the railing, thinking of the way her laughter had once made him forget the weight of the crown on his head. She was unlike anyone else, fearless yet gentle, elegant yet unpretentious. In her presence, titles disappeared, walls fell, and he was just a man who loved deeply. Now, with his father's directive, it was time to claim her openly, to make the entire world witness what his heart had always known. He imagined the moment he would tell her. She would look at him with those eyes that seemed to hold oceans, searching for the truth in his voice. He would take her hands in his and say, "My father has ordered me to bring you home, but this is not just his wish, it is mine. I want the world to know you are mine, not in whispers, not in hidden glances, but in the loud, unshakable truth." Her smile, he imagined, would be shy yet bright, the kind that would make even the coldest marble walls feel warm. In his mind, the vision of her walking through the royal gates was vivid. The guards would bow, not just out of protocol, but out of respect for the love story they had quietly witnessed unfold over time. The grand halls, lit by golden chandeliers, would seem to glow brighter with her presence. Even the palace gardens, with their meticulously arranged roses, would appear more alive when she walked among them, her dress brushing against the petals as if nature itself reached out to greet her. Hamdan could already hear the whispers that would spread across the nation. The media would explode with speculation, the people would flood the streets with excitement, and poets would write verses about the day the crown prince brought home the woman who had stolen his heart. He didn't care about the noise. All he cared about was the look on her face when she realized that every step she took from that moment on would be as his queen, not just in love but in life. But before any of that could happen, he knew he had to speak to her in person. No letter, no phone call, no messenger could carry the weight of what he was about to say. He needed to see her eyes, to watch her reaction when the truth left his lips. The royal guards were already preparing his convoy, but Hamdan decided he would ride himself. This wasn't a formal summons, it was a man coming for the love of his life. The drive through the city was surreal. Every familiar landmark blurred past him as his mind replayed every moment they had shared, the first glance, the first conversation, the first time she trusted him enough to speak of her dreams. He realized that in all those moments, she had no idea that one day the most powerful man in the country would command her presence in the royal home. But for Hamdan, this wasn't about power. This was about destiny. When he arrived at her home, he paused for a moment, gathering himself. The air felt different here, lighter, freer. He knocked, and when she opened the door, time seemed to stop. She stood there in simple clothes, her hair framing her face in the most effortless beauty he had ever seen. She looked surprised to see him, and before she could even ask why he had come, he stepped forward. "Today," he began, his voice low but steady, "my father summoned me. He gave me an order I could never refuse, not because he is my father, but because it is the one thing I have wished for every day since I met you. He told me to bring you home." Her lips parted slightly in shock, but he didn't stop. "Not just to visit, not just to see the palace, but to make it your home, your kingdom, your place beside me for as long as we live." Tears welled in her eyes before she could speak. She knew what this meant, not just a declaration of love, but a public, irreversible step into his world. It meant her life would change forever, that every day would be lived under the watchful eyes of the nation. Yet, in that moment, none of those fears mattered. What mattered was that the man she loved stood before her, not as the crown prince, but as the man who had chosen her above all else. She stepped forward and placed her hand over his heart. "Hamdan," she whispered, "you could have told me this 1,000 times and I still would not have believed it until I saw you standing here. If your father has ordered it, and you want it too, then I will come with you, not because of the crown, but because you are my home." Relief and joy washed over him in equal measure. Without another word, he pulled her into his arms, holding her as if the world could fall apart but she would still be safe there. Outside, the convoy waited. Inside, two hearts beat in perfect rhythm, ready to take the next step together. And as they walked toward the waiting cars, Hamdan knew that this was not just the fulfillment of his father's command, it was the completion of his own silent promise. From the moment they met, he had vowed in his heart that one day, he would bring her home. Now, that day had arrived, and the world was about to witness the love that had been written in the stars. The palace convoy moved slowly through the streets, but inside the car, time felt like it was rushing forward. Hamdan sat beside her, his hand never leaving hers, as if letting go would mean risking losing her again. She looked out the window at the city lights, each one a silent witness to the life she was leaving behind. He could sense the storm of emotions within her, excitement, nervousness, curiosity, and he wanted nothing more than to promise her that everything ahead would be worth it. As they neared the royal gates, the air seemed to shift. Guards straightened their stances, the massive golden gates slowly swinging open as if in a grand ceremony just for her. The hum of the city faded behind them, replaced by the stillness of the palace grounds. Hamdan turned to watch her reaction, and in her eyes, he saw awe, not for the wealth or grandeur, but for the realization that she was truly stepping into his world.